some of those earmarks and extenders and add-ons included here. And the Republicans are saying, you know what, there's got to be a better way to handle this. We'll deal with a temporary extension, maybe a partial extension into February, but we're not going to accept this whole line and sinker. Reaction to how this would go down in the House, Republican Congressman Jason Chaffetz of Utah. Congressman, this came out of nowhere. What are you going to do?
I'm a definite no. There is no doubt, ifs, ands, or buts. Duck and cover, America. Congress is in session, and it's Christmas time, and they're handing out presents. And didn't we just have an election about this? I mean, we had an election about this. We said we weren't going to do that anymore, but obviously the Democrats in the Senate aren't listening to that. And I hope that my colleagues will understand the gravity of this situation and just absolutely, there's no way. It is so unfair to spend that kind of money with no debate and dialogue.
All right, now there's a lot of goodies tucked in this. You know, we've been rushing through this to try to, how much is this nonsense and silliness, and how much is this type of stuff that's substantively, I should say that a few times, extending, obviously, ongoing programs. But are you saying that this came up here, you wouldn't vote for it? If it were the first thing you had to vote on, ahead of the tax cut compromise, which I want to get to, and START and some of these other things, you would say, not that all of these would happen in the House, by the way, but you would say no.
You have to start as a default on a no. If you don't get the process right, you're not going to get a good result. And if you don't have openness and transparency and debate and discussion, you're never going to get a good bill. So if they're going to try to drop something on me that's $1 trillion and say vote on it within hours, no way. I mean, we haven't even had a chance to read it.
Well, let's never stop you or your colleagues before. Not you.
Oh, come on.
All right. But let me ask you on this tax cut compromise.
Yeah.
When you were with me a few days ago, you were hearing about some of these extenders and add-ons. And, you know, debating, do I want to vote for it? Do I not want to vote for it? Because 90% of it is tax cuts. You seem to be hedging. I guess you've gotten off the hedge. Now you're saying you wouldn't vote for it, right?
No.
Why not?
Well, look, I understand no one person is going to get everything. I understand that. But if you look at this package, which is valued near $900 billion, one-third of that, a third of it, Neil, that has nothing to do with the Bush tax cuts. You're basically looking at close to $300 billion that's added to our debt, and there isn't one dime, not one dime of an offset. There's nothing cut. It's a classic example of Congress just punting the ball down the field again, and it doesn't achieve the goal.
How do you feel about your Republican colleagues who are just fine with that? Just get it done, one and done, come back, be serious about this spending stuff when you guys are in the majority.
I'm not going to sit in judgment of my colleagues. I can just say it to the representatives of Utah who sent me back here with a mantra to say, we got to get serious in this country about the debt, about fiscal discipline. Jobs in the economy is issue number one. And we said in order to achieve that, we needed certainty. And according to the Wall Street Journal article and Mitt Romney's piece that was in USA Today, which I totally concur with, this exacerbates the uncertainty in America because it doesn't permanently deal with the tax situation. And on top of that, we had $300 billion outside the Bush tax cuts, add $300 billion to our national debt without cutting a single dime. There was no offset. That's just unfair. It's just not right.
All right, you're talking about former presidential candidate Mitt Romney, who came out against this tax cut compromise. So it seems that within the Republican Party, Congressman, there are the Tea Partiers and I guess the mainstream Republicans. I know it doesn't follow that black and white, but where do you side?
Well, look, fiscal discipline, the need to grow our economy is paramount to me, and this does not achieve that goal. Again, I'm not going to get everything that I want. Remember, when the press conference originally happened, the president said we needed $56 billion to extend unemployment. Well, we have a $3.5 trillion budget. You can't find $56 billion and $3.5 trillion? Come on. We're paying $500 to $600 million a day in interest on our debt, and now we're going to add $300 billion? $300 billion to our debt? I don't see how this is a plausible way.
Do you think this is still going to pass the House? Your objections and other Democrats?
Well, if they start tinkering with the estate tax, then, you know, all bets are off. But, you know, the momentum right now would suggest that, yes, they're going to, you know, swallow it hard and go ahead. I wish they wouldn't. I want my colleagues to go in there and try to defend it because as I come up with those arguments, I don't hear many arguments back.
Congressman, thank you very, very much.
Oh, thanks, Neil.
All right, back to this massive spending bill we've been telling you about. Funding for this $1.1 trillion monster includes lots of dough for the president's health care law.